Hello and welcome to TechFunnel.com's interview series. My name is Danny White, and today we have the opportunity to talk to David Meerman Scott. David is a marketing strategist, entrepreneur, advisor to emerging companies, VC strategic partner, and best-selling author of 10 books, including The New Rules of Marketing and PR. Welcome, David. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, Danny. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So how did you get into the world of writing and marketing? Had you always wanted to be an author, or was it something that just came about as part of your interest in marketing?
I was fired. So I was working for a company called Thomson Reuters. And in 2002, they let me go. And it was a really tough job market because that was right after 9/11. So I had to figure out what I was going to do next. And I started doing consulting. And I was pretty good at it, but I found that I didn't really like the consulting work all that much, and so I started a blog in 2004, and the blog ended up doing quite well, and people were really interested in my ideas, and then that turned into my first nonfiction book that came out in 2005, and then in 2007. The book that you mentioned, The New Rules of Marketing and PR, came out, and then that hit international bestseller lists. And so far, it's sold over 400,000 copies. It's in the 6th edition right now, and it's in 29 different languages. So that drove my speaking business. So the way that I ended up doing what I do now was really an accident of getting fired. So I guess I like to say it was the best career choice I ever made was getting fired.
Awesome. So you're very visible across social media and the internet, on Twitter especially, almost every day. How do you manage your time along with your speaking and travel schedule?
Well, Twitter is really easy because sending a tweet is so easy to do. So what I do, excuse me, what I do is I don't try to find time to do social media. Rather, I fit it in to what I'm doing anyway. So if I have a couple of minutes in between phone calls, I'll jump onto social media and see what's going on. If I'm waiting in line, maybe to get into a restaurant, I'll have an opportunity to take a look at social media. So it's really a matter of making it a part of my day such that I don't even think about it anymore. So I don't say, oh, now it's time to do social media. Rather, it's when there's an opportunity that arises that I can focus on, hey, now it makes sense to think about this.
Awesome. What's your most favorite thing about writing and speaking?
It doesn't feel like a job, doesn't feel like work. The idea that what I'm doing to feed my family and earn an income is something that I absolutely enjoy is a really big thing for me. I also very much enjoy being able to help people. And every single day I hear either through social media or email or in person from people whose businesses have been able to grow and I've been able to help through my ideas. So that's a pretty great way to earn a living, to do something that you enjoy, number one, and then number two, do something that helps other people. I always contrast that with early in my career. I had some jobs that I really didn't like that very much. It's like, oh my God, I have to go to work now. That's no fun. I don't want to. I'd rather stay home. But with what I do now, I enjoy it very much. And I also have the opportunity to help people.
That's always a good feeling.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. Yeah. Switching now to the role of content, what type of impact does different forms of content have in reaching potential customers throughout the buyer's journey?
Well, I think content's essential because these days, practically all buyers of products and services at some point in their journey do research. And it doesn't matter whether it's a B2B company where the buyer is looking on behalf behalf of the company they work for, or a consumer company where the buyer is looking to spend their own money on a product or service. People do their research. And as part of the research, they typically do a few things. Number one, they typically go to search engines and see what they can find. Number two, they typically will go to the official websites of that company, so the company website or whatever it might be. And number three, they will often ask their friends and colleagues and family members through social media about a product or service or company or idea that they might be interested in. So that's the very important idea of how modern buyers are making their decisions. And if you have great information, then when they're doing that searching, or when they're have an opportunity to ask others, you emerge as great because your content is great. If you don't have any content at all, people can't find you at all. Right. Or if you've just created bad content, or copied other people's content, then you're on the web. What you are is you're someone who's created something bad, or it's just a copycat of somebody else's ideas. So it's just a very important way that we can stand out is by the information that we create.
So content, engagement, or both, there's really something to say about building this credibility online through producing consistent content in various forms. But you've been able to build yours through lots of engagement as well. So how do you create the balance between what to create and making sure that it's engaging enough for an audience to actually read or listen to?
Well, I think that the idea of having content that's important for buyers is one thing. So having something that's going to be valuable as part of the buyer's journey it is by definition something that can help to have engagement with your buyers. However, I would also say that an important component is that you or somebody within your organization, on behalf of the organization, needs to be responsive to when people are engaging with you. So I'm answering your question in a couple of different ways. The first way is that if the content's good, hopefully people will engage with it. They'll ask a question, they'll share it, they might leave a comment on it, they might blog about it or do a video about it or whatever. They're engaging with your content some way. If that does happen, then it's much better if you can amplify that engagement by reacting to it, commenting on it. If somebody says, gee, I really like this blog, and they leave a comment on your blog, get back to them right away. Don't let that sit. And that's on you to be able to, in real time, engage with your, I'll call them fans, but engage with your fans who are interacting with the content that you create in some way.
Your best-selling book, The New Rules of Marketing and PR, is now in its 6th edition. How have you seen the industry evolve since you first released the book in 2007?
So in 2007, the book actually came out, but I was writing it in 2005 and 2006. And back in 2005 and 2006, when I was writing it, Twitter didn't exist.
Right.
Facebook was only for students. YouTube had just come out, but nobody really knew anything about it. And lots of other social media that we know now didn't exist. Google was not real time yet. There's so many things back then that we didn't have that we have today. So as the book came out in the middle of 2007, Twitter all of a sudden burst onto the scene, and right around the same time the book came out, Facebook also opened up to people who were not students. So I knew that I had to update the book because these were very important developments, that Facebook now could be used by everybody, and Twitter was this new tool that was really taking off in popularity. So then I wrote a second edition to the book, and it turns out that every couple of years there's been important enough developments that I've had to do a new edition. I also, in each edition, I also will add new stories or ideas as part of the book to illustrate the concepts that I write about. But in every case, the strategies in the book have not changed. And the basic idea of the strategy is that that content is one of the most important things that you can do in order to reach your buyers. And so people say, well, your book's called The New Rules of Marketing and PR. What are the old rules, David? And the way I like to describe it is the old rules are before the web, before you had the ability to create content, you had to either buy attention by spending a whole lot of money on advertising, or you had to convince the media to write a broadcast about you, or you had to employ salespeople to knock on doors or pick up the phone and cold call to reach people. Right. All of those things still exist. You can still do those things, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but now we have this new way of reaching people, which is the idea of creating content, and that is an awesome way to generate attention, and those are the new rules. So as our market has shifted and we've got these new tools available to us, I've had to continually update that book.
Awesome. What advice would you give to people who are looking to break out into the marketing and PR industry today?
So I think that marketing and public relations has evolved so much, and that it's very difficult to get good advice as to how to do marketing and public relations, because the vast majority of the people who teach marketing and public relations learned under the old rules, as I talked about earlier. So what that means is that you've got people like university professors who are very, very skilled at things like advertising and traditional media relations, which are still important skills. I'm not saying they're not, but there are very few marketing and public relations teachers who are very good at helping people to understand how to reach buyers by creating content. So I think one of the best ways is to educate yourself by creating content around some aspect of your life that's interesting to you. So, for example, I'll give you an example. So, I really enjoy a really esoteric hobby, which is I collect artifacts from the Apollo lunar program. Oh, wow. I also have probably the world's largest collection of press kits from the Apollo 11 mission. And so I have two personal websites. One is apolloartifacts.com. The other one is apollopresskits.com that I've created. And I showcase my collection on apolloartifacts.com, and I showcase my press kits on apollopresskits.com. So that's giving me an opportunity to create some interesting information that I'm doing in my personal life. Right. And I think that anybody who wants to learn how to do modern style marketing, which is the creation of content that will help people, needs to understand how to create content and how to help people through that content. So, start a podcast or start a YouTube channel or create a blog or build a website or do something that you can do on your own to help educate you. And I think that's likely to be a lot more valuable than taking a course from somebody who's teaching the older ways of doing marketing.
Yeah. Awesome. Who are some of the writers and authors that you are reading currently? Obviously, you have a wide repertoire of things to pull from. So, who's on your bookshelf?
So I'm a big fan of Seth Godin. So anything Seth Godin writes, I devour. So I read his blog, I read his books, and I listen to Seth Godin's podcast. I'm on the advisory board of HubSpot. They're a growth platform that people use for marketing, sales, and customer service automation services, and they've got a really great set of content that they create about marketing and sales. And so I like their content. They have a conference called Inbound that I speak at every year, and I like to go to the sessions and learn a lot more. So they're doing some really great jobs around sales and marketing and public relations.
Awesome. Final question: where do you see marketing and PR industries headed over the next couple of years? And do you think you'll be doing some of the same things you're doing now then?
Yeah, I think we're going through a fundamental shift right now. And what's happening in my mind is that it's been 12 years since the first edition of the New Rules of Marketing and PR came out. And that book was the first to articulate the idea of online marketing as people talk about it today, which is what we've spent some time discussing, the idea of content creation. And the good news is that a lot of organizations have adopted those ideas. The bad news is that there's a lot of unscrupulous people who have adopted some of those ideas. So that means that things like spam have greatly increased recently, and people are talking about fake news, and there's all sorts of bots out there that you might be communicating on Twitter with someone, and it actually is a bot you're communicating with. And there's just a tidal wave of information that's coming our way to everyone on the web, everyone on social media. So I think on one hand, the rise of automation in marketing is a valuable development because it can help to free up marketers to spend more time on being creative. But on the other hand, I think that means we need to double down and be much more human about the way we communicate and truly dedicate ourselves to the humanity of how we work as marketers. And I think it's important to focus on just how we are communicating, and is it a way that that you're coming across as a business or an organization or as a person who is truly thoughtful and caring to other human beings. And I think that's where we're going, is on one hand, automation, AI, machine learning. On the other hand, we have to double down and make sure that we're remaining human.
Absolutely. Very good point. David, it's been a real pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with our audience. Where can people find out more about you and your writings and your books these days?
So on most of the social networks, including Twitter, I'm DM Scott, DMSCOTT. I use my middle name, Meerman, which is Meerman, in my professional work. So if you Google my name, David Meerman Scott, you find me and only me.
All right. Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you so much. We do appreciate your time. Thanks really for joining us today and sharing your thoughts.
Yes, of course. My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Guys, thanks for listening to this interview. For these and other interviews and topics, you can visit us at techfunnel.com. You can connect with us across social on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and subscribe to our weekly newsletter so you can stay up to date on what's happening in the industry. Thank you.